Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I think during the previous sessions, you've been empowered by um, getting to know tools and techniques to improve your investigations or tools into how to dig more to get and collect more information. My session will be um, to maybe empower you with some breaks and some consideration before taking any step because you might expose yourself or you might expose your sources, and this might impact negatively your research. Um, Digital security. I mean, today, most of these financial transactions or let's say corruption process of transferring money or building fake businesses to cover money or stuff like that. Most of these businesses are happening online. So in case you are a journalist or regardless investigator or whatever who is trying to get more information, you will be using exactly the same techniques, you will be using the same tools, you will be in the digital space trying to collect more information to write your story. So how can you protect yourself from being exposed in such things? So today we'll be talking about classes of threats. Um, may I ask you a question? Like, who is going to be doing more investigations outside of EU area? Awesome. So threats are not equal. If you live in a place like Norway, I'm sure the government it's not gonna come after you if you're doing a story. But if you live in another countries where the government has the power to go after journalists and arrest them, you have to change your security measures and use different tools, use different profiles, use different techniques to protect yourself. So threats are not equal when you do your job. So we'll be talking about classes of threats. We will be talking about principles of security. What is security? And we will be talking about protecting your fingerprints, how you can communicate with others, and how you can circumvent censorship in some regions and areas. And at the end of the day, the main goal is to protect your physical security. So there are 2 points we have to keep in our mind. Security is like a chain and it snaps exactly at the weakest point. And this is what usually happens. Usually if someone is trying to track you to find what you are working on, they will try to find the weakest point and they'll get you. And I'm talking about the digital space here. Plus, security protocols applies at home, at work, and at your private life. So keep this in your mind. Classes of threats. What are the classes of threats? You might face interruption, you might lose data, you might, maybe someone gets access to your data and removes all your data and destroy your research. You might face interception in some areas and regions. Governments listens to you, and they will be ahead of the game if they can listen to you. In some regions, bad actors can modify your data just to make your life harder. So this is also another class of threats. Plus fabrication, especially in nowadays, fabrication is a big deal. Those are the classes of threats. What are we trying to protect when we talk about digital security? We're trying to protect confidentiality of our work. So I'm trying to carry on a conversation with sensitive source of information. I need this conversation to be confidential. By confidential, I mean third party cannot listen to my conversation. The other point is integrity. I try to protect my information. I've seen a lot of cases where actually bad actors hack into websites and change information for some reasons. And I'll be trying to also, I mean, that's how integrity works. The other part is the availability. At the end of the day, if I run a website that publishes such sensitive information, some governments might take this website down and make it not available. So you will be trying to protect your availability of your information too. Now, as journalist who is digging to get information, you have to protect and hide your digital fingerprints, and that's the ultimate goal. This is a really very good paper I was reading on my way to Norway today, and I got some slides out of it. It talks about the nexus of digital technology when it comes to dig into illegal financial flows. And as I said before, today everything is in the digital space. And also, I want to mention that a lot of maybe I did not attend the previous sessions, but I'm sure the focus was on how people are moving their actual money, like that it's coming from illegal activities, to somewhere else, hiding it or paying someone else. But keep in mind that today there is a lot of sources of generating money from digital illegal activities. I've seen cases where actually you can pay hackers, or there are businesses, full businesses that are happening on the deep web and the dark web, that you can pay people money to take down other websites, pay people money to hack someone's accounts. So there is a full space of online digital activities that also generates money and creates illegal money. And this is something also you can read more about it. So this is the process of how actually money moves in the digital space. People earn money, then they move them, they transfer them, then they use this money, or they bring them back to the system. And in this case, they use a whole digital underground economy environment. Plus, they use online banking, they use cryptocurrency, they use other digital ways also to transfer money. Some of them, they set up fake e-commerce websites so they can bring money into these businesses and make it looks like legal money. And at the end of the day, they send this money to offshore accounts. Now, as an investigative journalist, you have to go through all these things, and all these things live actually on the digital space. You have to check domain names. These domain names, you have to find who is the owner of these domain names, who is paying for these domain names. You need to follow a digital cryptocurrency wallet numbers. So whatever is happening here, you have to follow the same exact flow to identify illegal activities. So you live in the digital space. These are some ideas of what you might end up doing on the digital space to create an investigation. You might monitor suspicious activities on some Bitcoin wallets, or blockchain wallets, for example. You might dig into leaked information coming from Panama leaks, for example. So you are dealing with digital resources in order to make your research or investigation. So in this case, because we talked about a lot of digital activities, let's talk about the practicality of doing the investigation. You will be dealing with a lot of public information that is provided by the government. You will be dealing with a lot of data that is voluntarily provided by private sector, or it's required by specific legal framework. You will be doing a lot of research inside leaked data. Last year, almost 500,000 Yahoo emails were leaked, their passwords were leaked. I see this an opportunity for journalists to dig into this information and try to find some valuable information to enhance their research. You might investigate some domains and some IP addresses, some automated tools that flag some specific keywords you're looking to. You might maintain profiling databases for individuals and companies on your computer. You might maintain connection with whistleblowers using some encrypted tools. You might dig for data for personal information, go to government websites or other private websites, Google names, LinkedIn. So during this work, you're actually leaving a huge amount of fingerprints that can allow anyone who is listening to you to build a profile on what you are working on. In some countries, ISPs are owned by governments. Let's forget about governments. Let's talk about Google search engine. If you are using Google search engine and you're typing any word you're looking for at Google, believe me, Google knows exactly what you are working on, and your machine knows exactly what you are working on. If you became a victim of a malware or your computer got hacked, it's easy for the hacker to build a profile on what you are working on. So the end goal is actually to teach you how to protect yourself from such threats. Um, During your investigation, I'm sure you will be facing a lot of challenges because financial systems, especially decentralized financial systems today, are really hard and complex to track. And believe me, criminals are smart now when it comes to their digital security. I don't know if you guys, any one of you, went to the deep web and saw the e-commerce websites at the darknet, how they're selling weapons, how they're selling a lot of illegal things. So criminals are good when it comes to their protection. Plus, one of the challenges is search engines will profile you and your work if you are working on something. Journalists, because your job is to go and look for information, maybe some bad actors will leave some information out there so they can catch you and find who you are and what you are working on. And journalists are easy targets for phishing. Honeypots. Do you guys know what is honeypots? Honeypots is actually a fake infrastructure that a lot of, let's say you're doing investigative, a report, a story about specific company. If this company is aware about such thing, they can put a honeypot for you, a fake website or a website, legit website that is publishing information you are looking for. But this information will help the company to identify you, know who you are. It might be valuable, real information, but the end goal of this information is to identify the person who is working on. Securing yourself is not enough. You need to understand your adversary. You need to understand their capabilities in order to protect yourself. Surveillance is a big thing in everywhere now. So let's talk about actions. You really need to understand what is encryption when it comes to your online activities. Encryption as a simple concept, not as algorithms. Applied cryptography. I'm sure in this morning session, you've heard about encryption in Signal, in Tor, in WhatsApp, all these applications. So it's important for you to understand the capabilities of these tools and what it can protect you at. Use virtual machines. Machines are hardware, computers are hardware, and every hardware has a specific fingerprint, has specific serial numbers, MAC addresses. Try to use virtual machines. Virtual machines are machines inside your machine. It's a virtual environment. We will have a workshop today, so I can show you more how this virtual machine works. But virtual machine is a virtual operating system that lives inside your machine. And by using this virtual machine, you're protecting, you're firewalling your hardware from being known. Disconnect your private life from your professional life. Totally, if you're doing sensitive story. Do not use the same machine. Do not use your private email. I'll give you an example. Last week, I've been analyzing an attack related to North Korea. And the targeted per individual, the victim of this phishing attack, they targeted their private email. So they targeted their private email in case to extract information and use it against them to blackmail them for something. So try to separate your private life from your professional one. And understand how surveillance work. If you decided to go to Egypt to do a story, read about the capabilities of surveillance in this country. There are countries they're good in surveilling, let's say, your web browsing history. The government can pick up, knows exactly what websites you're trying to access, but they don't have capabilities of reading your Signal messages, for example. So try to understand every country's capabilities, and there are many resources like the Internet Freedom Report by Freedom House. It's an annual report. They publish government's capabilities and actions. And yeah, that's understand your adversary's capabilities. It's important. If you are in Norway, it's totally different scenario. You don't have to worry like being in Egypt, for example. Another thing, if you are working on some story and a lot of people knows about it, do not interact with any emails from unfamiliar contacts unless it's planned, unless you know that you will be receiving this email and this attachment from this person. So try to not interact. A lot of journalists, as I said before, are victims of phishing. So do not log in using emailed links. Let's say you're in your Gmail and you received this email. You clicked on the link and it's asking you for your username and password. Why? You are already logged into your Gmail, so do not log in using these kind of emailed links. Plus, while you're doing your investigation, you might use some tools. There are tools that will help you to automate your research. And these tools asks you to log in using your Gmail or to log in using your Facebook. There are a lot of tools out there. It made our life easy, but at the same time, it's a security compromise. So do not trust third-party applications and do not authenticate them using your Gmail or your Facebook or your whatever accounts. Try to use two-factor authentication. Do you guys know what is two-factor authentication? It's the SMS that you receive when you log into your Gmail. SMS is so easy to spoof. Try to use hardware two-factor authentications. There are keys like a tool called, I have it somewhere, anyways. There is YubiKey, which is a USB key. It's a hardware and it's more secure than SMS. So try to use two-factor authentications anytime you can, and specifically hardware two-factor authentications. If you cannot get two-factor authentications, like hardware one, get the Google Apps code generator and stuff like that. Let's talk about protecting your data. Password is the most important firewall in protecting our stuff. So use long and strong passwords. These passwords make it something long, make it a sentence. Do not use words, use phrases. So just use long passphrases and always enable two-factor authentication. Back up your data all the time and encrypt your backup. And I will be talking about these technicalities behind these issues in the workshop. Also, when you're using open source tools, most of the encryption things are open source. Verify that you are actually downloading the file from the real website. There are a lot of other fake websites that allows you to download modified it or that it has actually malicious code embedded. So verify that you are downloading your tools from the original website. Do some research before downloading some tools. Passwords, again, because it's important, make it long, make it complex. Don't forget it. Don't make it personal at all. This is an example from a password that it's so easy to be hacked or guessed. This is another example for a very strong password, correct horse, battery, stable, whatever. It's really hard to be, it needs 550 years to be cracked, so use some hard passwords. And I'm saying that because Yahoo was hacked, Target was hacked, Home Depot was hacked, all these big corporates were hacked, and our encrypted passwords were released to the internet. So if I'm using a simple password, cracking that encrypted password is so simple. So use such passwords that is hard to be cracked. And do not share your password. Use password managers. Password managers are really awesome tools, allows you to generate password. I know, I mean, I don't remember passwords. So I only have one password and my hardware key, and I have a huge database that is full of machine-generated passwords. So password managers helps you to generate password, and also it helps you to keep your password safe. So use password managers, and I'll explain that in the workshop too. These are the most common passwords for 2012. Yeah. Yep. So how are passwords stolen, cracked? A lot of websites get hacked, passwords, encrypted passwords being leaked. So cracking those passwords are easy. Brute force attack, you are creating a machine, and this machine is trying to brute force to try to attack this password until it finds the right one. If you're using an easy password, there are dictionary attack. There are machines that just run dictionary and trying to get passwords. Decrypting password, thief, keyloggers. All right, these are keyloggers. Keyloggers are hardware and software pieces that can be attached to your machine, and it can write every single text you're typing. So be aware of these things. That's too much on passwords. All right. Communicating with others, try to encrypt your email connection, try to use HTTPS all the time that's available, use PGP, end-to-end encryption, use end-to-end messaging encryptions like Signal or WhatsApp anytime you can. Use open source browsers like Firefox or Google, Chrome. There are plugins that it can protect, hide your identity. Use these plugins too. These plugins will prevent search engines from collecting information about you. Use Tor or VPN anytime you're doing some sensitive work. So you can hide your identity too. In case you're living in an area where there is censorship, use Tor all the time if you can. Alternative DNS, I'll explain that in the workshop. Physical security, never leave your computer in a hotel room. Encrypt it all the time, and when you leave your computer, do a full shutdown. Do not put it on sleep, because sleep will not encrypt your computer. And all the time have a backup. Also encrypt your external hard drives. There's no point of not encrypting them. That's it. Questions, maybe? Thanks. Thank you.
Dlshad.
Sure.
Do we have any questions from the audience? I hear some wow and recognizing everything we do not do, possibly. Lina, please.
Actually, I will not say the whole question because I have many. I will
Sure.
let for the workshop, but two questions very fast. Like there is a password, you can take it from some website, like ready one, like letter with what
Yes.
about this?
Mm-hmm.
And you said something about be sure when you download a file,
Yes.
you have to be sure from the website how we can check this.
Okay, good. Now, I will not recommend at all using the online tools that they generate passwords, because the minute they generate this password for you, they keep it for themselves and they create that encrypted value of it. So in case your password got hacked, your encrypted value is already out there. So use offline password managers, that's first. How to verify websites? Do some research. Like if you're trying to download Tor, type Tor browser and go through the Wikipedia page, go through other pages that talk about Tor and see the official link of Tor, and then verify that you're actually accessing the exact domain. There is an HTTPS, it's a green bar, then download the software. There is another process called verifying hashes, but it's more complicated. I will recommend the first strategy. Thanks.
Are there any more questions to Dlshad? Now you have the opportunity. Yes, please.
Sure. Oh, sure. Yep, there it is.
Any questions? Yes, right there, behind you.
Thanks. Is there,
Can you say
Like-
your name first, please?
Christina, is there any way you can, if you need to record a conversation with someone and you're in Norway, so you're safe, but you want to make sure that they are safe?
Yeah.
How can you do that in best possible way?
I mean, you cannot guarantee that they are safe because you have no control over their machine. There might be a malware on their machine, for example. But I would say the best way to do it is at least to guarantee that your communication, like the flow of information between you and those individuals, is secure. So use Signal or use Jitsi Meet or use some secure ways of communication, at least to guarantee the transmission of data is secure. In case these individuals are technical, ask them to install virtual machines or Tor browser and carry the communication through Jitsi on Tor, for example. This will guarantee the security of your other person too.
Any more questions? There's one behind there, Christina, and then also Miral.
Thank you. I'm Christina. I'm a journalist from Armenia. Of course, I use encryptions very often with in the communication with colleagues and sometimes sources, but I'm sure that if there is encryption, there should be decryption too. What do you think? Is it secure, really? Or we should take other steps to be more secure? Thank you.
Thanks. So I mean, yes, the at the end of the day, computer power is growing up. We're getting to quantum computers that they can decrypt or crack complicated algorithms, but it might take years. And let's say I'm using Signal with you, so the packets are flying. Nobody is keeping the packets to decrypt them after 100 years when they will have the capability of decryption. So let's use what we have now, at least, and use some good encryptions. Like there are some good algorithms. DES, it's one of the most famous US government encryption. It was made in the 70s and it was cracked at the 2000s. So it took a lot of decades to crack this encryption. So let's assume it's secure for now and keep updating yourself and follow the news to not use any not secure algorithm.
Last question, Miral.
When I do like a research, I'm from Egypt, and you give example from Egypt. You said the government sometimes hidden the website like
Yes.
Freedom House.
Yes.
For me, I need the results about how many percentage they killed. What is the word? The government hidden like Freedom House, Al Jazeera, but I need this site. How I can get this site? This is
Awesome. So Egypt is censoring thousands of websites, and especially in the last year, they censored. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, censorship in Egypt. There is a huge like a lot of censorship. In this case, you can use tools like Tor. It's a secure browser that allows you to securely bypass censorship, or you can use VPN, virtual private network accounts. This also allows you to bypass government censorship by encrypting your traffic and pushing it outside of Egypt. So these two things can help you to how to bypass censorship.
And now there are some lucky students who will continue in a workshop with you. I'm a little bit envious of them. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Dlshad.
Thank you.